And here we go. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Canada Lake Park. In this episode, we are going to build a mini zoo for our park, so our Segisaurus aren't alone anymore. Okay, starting from the beginning, the idea was very simple, I think. It was in my head for a very long time, but I wanted to make those big landmarks, just like the Tyrannosaurus Rex paddock at the main street first, because I wanted to see how many space I'm going to have. Because I would like to see how much space I have, and to build something in that space that makes the Segisaurus habitat not look as out of place as it was looking before. Don't get me wrong, I like this habitat. It was the first habitat actually built on YouTube from me, but still, it is very good, just like the entrance enclosure, but the habitat is looking a little bit out of place, especially when the park is just going forward. And I thought that building something like mini zoo with the smaller enclosures with smaller species, just like the Segisaurus, is quite a good idea to add some variation in the park and remind our guests that dinosaurs are not only huge, but there are also some very small and interesting species. Speaking of our interesting species, in this episode we are adding Gigantospinosaurus. I think that's the way it is pronounced. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm really sorry, but sometimes I have really no idea how to say that in Polish. Speaking more in English, and why Gigantospinosaurus? I decided that I really like to do in this park something different. I think that I mentioned that in the second episode of the series. And Gigantospinosaurus is an animal that it's quite small, and that means that it really fits well in this enclosure, in the small enclosures, and it fits to the mini zoo idea. And I don't using it quite often. Maybe because there are also loads and loads of other smaller species that also fit well in mini zoo area, and it haven't got interesting skins, I should say, but this time I decided I will go with that. Another animal is on the opposite. It is Homalocephaly, the animal that is, I think, in every single petting zoo, in every single mini zoo, because let's be honest, it's cute. Homalocephaly is one of the cutest animals in this game, in overall Jurassic World franchise, and in this game is just looking so adorable, and I think everyone are just using it quite often. It can find place in every single park, and I don't know, it just fits really well. I didn't want to go with this park without Homalocephaly. Okay, but going even further, we got another addition to our park from Park Manager's Collection Pack, which is, at this point, probably one of my favorite DLCs. I don't know, I've got my tier list of DLCs in the future, but not now. We are going to add Microceratus, this little ceratopsian that is also cute, and the entire community really recommended this species because it was mentioned in Dominion, and Microceratus was also in Jurassic Park original novel. And yeah, till this day I remember this description from the book when Alan and the kids were just going down the river and looking at the Microceratus going on the trees. And it was quite interesting. In this game, obviously, we cannot see a Microceratus or the Dryosaurus, which is, I think, pronouncing oak tree lizard or tree lizard meaning, but you have to check that, as always, because I'm improvising right now. And we cannot see that, but still, we have this really fine addition, another beautiful dinosaur with magnificent skins. When I just loaded in the game, when the pack launched and saw the skins of Microceratus, I was just amazed. I'm quite a little bit sad that the species is so small, I think at the size of Compsognathus, maybe just a little bit bigger. And that's one of the species that disappear in the bigger enclosure, and I think adding this species for bigger habitat just like we made the habitat for the Dreadnoughtus and Edmontosaurus, it will just disappear and it doesn't have any sense. Probably if we build a park inspired by the African safari parks or something like that, it could be more fitable. But in Canada Lake Park, mini zoo is, I think, proper place for him. And also, something that the species that came to us in one of the expansions, being Moros intrepidus, the animal that is usually not Moros intrepidus in the parks. It is the younglings, the very small, nearly hatched Tyrannosaurus Rex, because it's just looking like the Tyrannosaurus, and that's also the reason why it's really near the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it's just the neighbor. Moros is just the neighbor of Tyrannosaurus Rex in this park, because they are so looking quite similar, so much. Moros have also interesting skins, and I think was one of the best additions from Dominion Malta expansion. Yes, that was my Dominion Malta expansion. I don't remember now because it was so long ago. I can't remember now. Probably that was the end of 2022. Yeah, I was quite happy it was coming out when I saw that we are going to have a Velociraptor. We are going to have some skins from Dominion that was missing from the Dominion Biosyn expansion. But I was just looking at Moros intrepidus. I was just furious. I was just thinking, what's that animal? I haven't seen that. At first I also thought that it will be bigger. I think that paleo-accurate Moros intrepidus is quite bigger. I think nearly even bigger than a big dog, but also I have to check that. You also should go check that out immediately. But the Dominion was shown as it is the youngling, but in the game it's an adult species and you can do nothing about that. But finally you have a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex for our enclosures, so that's also the good thing about that. I think there was also I think that was the same history with the Allosaurus in the Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2, because I think in Fallen Kingdom we saw the juvenile of Allosaurus, and in Battle of the Big Rock we've seen the adult Allosaurus, but in the game the adult Allosaurus was the juvenile from Fallen Kingdom, and in Dominion Malta expansion I think we get this adult Allosaurus, and later in the beautiful updates that this game get over the time we get those adult skin that could be changed just like we wanted. Also the Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus, Dreadnoughtus get those skins customization that really changed everything, because I have to say that I was so happy that the Dreadnoughtus gets this beautiful skin, because the sauropods like that, just like the skin of Dreadnoughtus, were missing in those games, because something like that was only Diplodocus and Apatosaurus. The rest were the sauropods that were looking quite similar to each other, I think. And if I just was looking around for sauropod like that, I just taking Brachiosaurus, Mamenchisaurus, and Dreadnoughtus was not making the way into the parks. But with this new customizable skins, it just went straight up in the air, because the original in-game Jurassic World Evolution skin, the model, I think it's not bad, but it's not looking quite well. The same history was with the Giganotosaurus. No Giga. What am I even talking about? Giganotosaurus, with those new skin, and the original skin, the original model from the game, is not a Mapusaurus. It's quite similar, so yeah, we have two species right now. The same history could be with the Dreadnoughtus. But yeah, we are running away, just talking about skins, models that this game changed overall. You can see in this episode again and again, I am adding all of those rocks, those piles of rocks, and adding some foliage in them. it is also because we want to build this park quite realistic, just like in the zoos, because just like I said in previous episode, I think it was also episode 2, animals, herbivores enclosure are not looking quite well just like in the wild because animals could eat the entire foliage in their exhibit and later it's just the bare ground, the bare dirt just lying and nothing is growing on it. And if it is growing, it is usually in the rocks that animals have a difficult time. It's difficult for them to just reach those leaves, or they have planters for some trees, they have planters for some bigger bushes, so the entire enclosure is not just all brown, or just it is not on the only sand, and the animal is just walking from the one place and the another, and it's just not looking quite natural. It is quite boring. And the same thing we are doing over here. I was also adding those shelters, just like we done with the Segisaurus. And there is also one problem, because in this game, when you use loads of those rocks, of those decorations, and individually placeable trees, the hitboxes of transportation are horrible. And you can see I was just I think in every habitat, maybe not in the Moros Intrepidus habitat, but still, I was just having loads of problems with that during the transport of the dinosaurs, because I was just waiting for the transport of one dinosaur to get done. The dinosaur had to go away, and then I was able to put another transportation on the place. And yeah, we finally went straight into this Tyrannosaurus Rex haddock plaza, to the main entrance actually, because on the third episode we built only the back entrance, which was the only entrance. So to go and see T-Rex, the guests should go from the entrance next to the Segisaurus, go the entire DNA train main street, and then go up to the mountain and to the Tyrannosaurus Rex paddock. And now finally they have something, the path that is, I think, more interesting, and it just loops around. And also that's one of the tips. I think that I said that in the previous episodes also, to just avoid dead ends, so your park is looking. It have more sense actually, because when you are going to the zoos, it's not quite often. If you want to go somewhere, you have to go back, the same road, looking at the same animals. It's not quite often. Geography is also playing with that a great role, but you should avoid that and use the terrain elevation every time you build something, just like I built those mountain range in the Dreadnoughtus habitat, and also when I pulled the ground up in this section with the T-Rex paddock, because it's looking a little bit more interesting. It's not a very big thing to do, especially in this map, when I saw that if I just level the terrain up, it will be looking a little bit more interesting, and I'm going to have a little bit more space that I really need for this giant Tyrannosaurus Rex kingdom. And yeah, I think it looks a little bit better from the sky, and also when you are going around in the park. There is also one thing that I think it's something like Happy Accident from Bob Ross, from famous painter. So I leveled the ground up and also built a Gigantospinosaurus habitat on the lower level. So you have 2 points when you can look at this magnificent Stegosaurid, and you can, from the ground perspective, the normal perspective from the mini zoo, and also from the entrance to the T-Rex kingdom. And I think it turned out quite well. I'm really proud about that. And speaking of this plaza, I'm finally going to work around it. I really wanted to add some planters and this little section for the benches and some trees, because some greenery is also the best in those games every time. Rather it is Jurassic World Evolution 2, Jurassic World Evolution 1 even, if you are still playing that game. I can also play that game to make some nostalgia come back. Yeah, but it will come probably in the future, because I not even think about going from all of those creative possibilities, all of those decorations. Don't get me wrong, Jurassic World Evolution 2, it's still quite limited game, but in comparison to the first game, we are a few miles ahead. There is a lot of things that could be reworked, redone, but still that amount of decorations, for example, the possibilities, those buildings, the fact that we finally in the base game can mix eras. Of course, if you are playing on the new gen consoles or in the PC, but yeah, it's. I want to say that it is a humongous step ahead from the first game, and now I'm not even thinking about going back. But if you want, get me know in the comments if you would like to see me just how to say that. If you want to see me suffer, actually, in the first game, just get me know in the comments and we can make episode like that when I build a really small park in the first game because I wasn't playing for a few years now. So that will be a really good comeback. Okay, but going back to the build, now I would like to build something in the middle, just like this little lake situation, and you can just go and adore the nature. Because if you're building a park, you should really waste space everywhere you can, actually, because not every inch of your park should be an exhibit. I was also thinking about turning this little pond into the habitat for the consignators, actually, which is also a good species for mini zoo. But I thought, no, you should have those peaceful view on the Microceratus habitat, not being disturbed of the big truck of the guests just going to see also the consignators. It also happened between in the Homalocephaly and Gigantospinosaurus, I know that, and I really try to avoid that because it's not looking great. It is good in chaos theory, but you shouldn't do that in sandbox. And yeah, speaking of sandbags, sometimes you get those little problems that animals are stuck in the rocks, in the foliage, in the placeable foliage, and they just starve to death. It's not very good thing. I know there are just animals from the PC that are not existing in real life, and if they die, you can make another one. But it's a struggle, and it's also quite. It's not very pleasing, I should say. I really don't like that thing that when that happens, and really try to avoid that. You can see those cuts because my Microceratops just were dehydrated because there was too little water in the habitat. Two times I had to place the medical facility, I think, medical bay. Just went there and cure them to prevent them from dying. Actually, I also made the pond a little bit bigger so the animals can finally go and drink the water, be happy, and going there and just making their life simpler, happier in the little enclosure that they have. And still, I'm keeping forgetting how this animal is small, how just that disappearing in the grass paint, the grass, of course, the terrain paint. And there is also a tip: if you are building for a dinosaur, just go to the another sandbox save and drop the dinosaur in so you get the sense of scale. Or you can also do that. If you're in sandbox, you can make that in the park save file if you want. But I really would like to just go to another save. One save for the beautiful park, the ethical one, and another save with a big mess when I just experimenting. And now I see in my program that there is another cut coming. It will be also quite quite short because it will be adding some decorations, building, making this plaza, especially this plaza, a little bit more interesting because I thought that there is only this one terrain. There's also this one half paint, one color, and I also would like to add some flags to boost our education in the park. Sadly, in Jurassic World Evolution 2, it's not possible. There is no something like guest education, but in Planet Zoo there is. It is making the game a little bit more realistic. on the way. And I don't know, I just really like that, but I have had a lot of problems during the career mode trying to figure out how to educate my guests so the park is just going up and my zoo is not collapsing because people are not educated and there is not as much money as I really wanted to be, and I was just going bankrupt all the time. But if you got some problems with those games, just go onto YouTube. There are some players that have, I think, maybe even 2 hours, 200 hours plus in those games, and they know everything. The YouTube is actually the best source for such a games when you can learn something, understand some mechanics in the game, and also find some inspiration, which is for me the most important part, because I'm a creative builder, but sometimes my creativity is just running really, really low, and that's the problem that the YouTube can solve, but also other websites on the internet, just like the Zoo Chat, or just the Google Graphics. Just type something like zoo entrance, or I don't know, the lion paddock or bear paddock, bear habitat, and you got loads and loads of photos in the Google that make you feel inspired to build another thing. But okay, I think it will be the end of the voiceover, but it's not the end of the video. Actually, stick around again for the cinematics that I prepared for this video. And for now, your Wycent is going to say you bye bye, and I'm going to wish you to have a really, really lovely day, a good day. For now, I can only say bye bye.